Looks like it now, because now it's showing that I'm actually going out from the network and from not from yeah. If you can tell me now if the sound is okay, I'll probably start again after that, because I had to just reload it. Actually, what happens is that like I said, I haven't been online for a while, and I actually moved my laptop from one location to the other. So how's the sound now? If the sound is okay, then fine. Let me go back to the full. Now, is it okay now? Is the sound okay now? If the sound is okay, then I'll carry on. Okay. If you can tell me now if the sound's okay. Let me refresh this one as well. Right. Yeah, I think now it's okay. It should be okay now. I don't know. Uh, right. Yeah. Let me see. Let me listen. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I can hear it okay now. I think it's okay. So right. Yep. All right. Okay. Fine. The sound is okay now. Right. Okay. So we can carry on now. Yeah. I think we can carry on. The sound seems better. It always happens to me like this when I'm off air for a while, and then I come back again, and with them. I get some issues. I should have sorted this out from a long time. Okay, now let's go. Let's go to what I was saying. Okay, the permissibility. Let's just talk about the permissibility for a while. I didn't mention that before, but let me just mention the permissibility. Right, the permissibility of polygyny in Islam is established and evident. It is even a practice that is recommended by some scholars. Sheikh Ibn Baz has said, if a person is able to be fair between his wives in everything, then he may marry more. He may marry one, two, three, in addition to the first. I advise each one among you to marry four. This is what Sheikh Uthaymeen is saying now. Yeah, I advise each one of you, okay, to marry four women, and to have four children each year instead of just one. This is what Sheikh Uthaymeen has recommended. This is to increase the number of the Muslim nation and overcome the number of disbelievers quantitatively and qualitatively. Okay, this is advice from Sheikh bin Baz. Can you tell me now if I'm going out okay or not? I just want to make sure. I kind of heard myself on YouTube, and I think I am going out okay, but just to be sure. Okay, so this is on the issue of performing polygyny itself. Okay, and okay, now I was talking about Sheikh Salah al Munajjid just a minute ago, and as for some first wives' distress when their husbands take another wife, when a question was put to Sheikh Muhammad Salah al Munajjid about this, the response was, the first wife's distress when the husband marries another wife is to be expected. And Allah has set rules and regulations to reduce these feelings. Now, this is the thing that's happening these days, is that, we find that, when the person has taken another wife, the first wife goes crazy, goes wild. There's problems in the house. There's fighting. There's this and that and the other. You know. Okay, so Sheikh Saleh Manajid is saying here that it is expected that there will be some sort of jealousy or whatever. Yeah, but Allah has set rules and regulations to reduce these feelings or remove them altogether by enjoining justice, patience in the face of adversity, and so on. Okay, so the fact that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said to the woman, I think I mentioned that before. Women tend to think that Allah created, or Allah made polygyny for the man, the man to have a good sex life. No, that's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually made polygyny permissible for. Allah made polygyny permissible because of the woman, to protect the woman. You can see the situation of women today. You can see how many women need husbands, how many women are actually either divorced or widowed. Just take the example of what's going on around the world now. Yeah, take that example. You can see the amount of wars that are going on. And the other thing is as well. I don't know whether you've paid attention to that, but when there was the beginning of the war in what do you call it? Ukraine, there was something very important. The men took their wives, okay, the men took their wives and they put them on a train or a ship or whatever and sent them away, not sure if they're ever going to see them again. Right, bear that in mind now. Not sure if they're ever going to see them again, their wives, their children, or whatever. Many of them ended up dying now. Okay, many of them ended up dying. The Russians as well, same thing. Yeah. So what happens now is that what do you do with these widows now? What do you do with them? You see, so Islam has sent the solution, and this is the solution. This is why the book is mentioning from monogamy to polygyny. Okay, and then now it's explaining. Sheikh Salih al-Munajjid is saying that Allah has set rules and regulations to reduce these feelings and remove them altogether. Like I said earlier on, that Islam didn't invent polygyny. Polygyny was already there. There was loads of people practicing polygyny. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made rules and regulations in order so that there isn't any injustice. Okay, so yeah. So whatever the case is, the fact that these feelings of distress and dislike of polygamy exist does not justify the condemnation of it. Now, you have a lot of ladies who say, "Oh, I hate polygamy. It's like this." It's like, no, you cannot hate something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them halal. Yeah. Personally, I have a personal dislike for it. Yeah. You probably say, but you cannot condemn it altogether because it's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the Sheikh Salih Munajjid saying that now. For those of you who are from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, for those of you who are from the Salaf al-Salih, you will know who Sheikh Salih al-Munajjid is. Yeah. So he mentions there that no, yeah, and so whatever the case, the fact that these feelings of distress and dislike of polygamy exist does not justify the condemnation of polygamy. Islam came to serve and increase people's best interest and to reduce harmful things and render them ineffective. There is no doubt that polygamy, he's using the term polygamy, but like I said, the term is actually polygyny. When practiced properly, I have said several times that there are brothers out there, a lot of brothers out there who are not practicing it properly, and this is why we're having the problems. A lot of the problems that we're having today is because brothers and sisters are not actually practicing properly, and this is where the problems are happening. Yeah. When practiced properly in accordance with Islam, achieves many things that are in people's best interests, such as maintaining chastity of a man who is not satisfied with one wife. Now, don't get that wrong. That doesn't mean that he doesn't love his wife. Yeah, that doesn't mean that his wife doesn't please him. There's some of the Facebook groups that I'm in, but people are asking questions and everything, and some ladies have asked questions. Does that mean that if a man takes another wife, that means he doesn't love his wife? No, Prophet ﷺ loved his wife. The Sahaba loved their wives, but none, not because they were into polygyny. Does that mean that they didn't love their wives? No. So yeah, such as to maintain the chastity of the man who is not satisfied with one wife. When I say not satisfied with one wife, I mean that some men have a more of a sex drive than others. Not all men are the same, and some men have more sex drive than others. So obviously, one wife may not be able to fulfill his needs. Now, you have to bear one thing in mind now. I'm not talking of just the man of today. From history, when you look at history, look at people like Genghis Khan. a lot of the world's population originate from him. The amount of wives that he had. Now he was somebody who was strong, virile, and in action all the time. You have a lot of the warriors of the past. You have a lot of these nations who their needs were more than one wife. So it's something that's not like from today, think he's not satisfied with his wife. Okay, so no, that's something that from before. Taking care and maintaining the chastity of a woman who has no husband. Now this is something very, very important. Today you have a lot of women who've either been made widowed or they've divorced their husbands. Majority of women in the Western society, I'm not talking about just of Muslim women, but majority of the women in the Western society are the ones who file divorce. Okay, file for divorce. Now, these women they have needs as well. They have wants as well. They have urges as well. And they will end up without a husband. Okay, so not having a husband could end up making them do things that they shouldn't be doing. Just like the husband as well. If his wife is not satisfying, he could end up making him do things that he shouldn't be doing. Yeah. So it's for both. Yeah. And it's mentioned here by Sheikh Saleh al-Munajjid. So the chastity of a woman who has no husband, increasing the offspring of the ummah, like I mentioned earlier on here from Sheikh Uthaymeen as well, to increase the ummah. The Prophet ﷺ said that to increase his ummah, so on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, when he will present in front of Allah, you will find that he will be the Prophet who will have the most ummah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so we'll move on. Solving the problems of the widows and spinsters, like I mentioned earlier on. This is a big problem that we have in the world today, where women have been made widows. Okay, made widows, husbands have died or whatever, and many men don't want to marry them. Now, let me that's one thing I wanted to mention there. When the Prophet ﷺ said to Jabir in the hadith, when Jabir radiallahu anh came to the Prophet ﷺ and said he had been married, and the Prophet ﷺ said to him, did you take a young girl, a virgin? He said no. And the Prophet ﷺ said to him, we should have taken a virgin. And then he explained, now this is very important now. He explained his condition. He had sisters. Okay, his parents had died. He had sisters. They were young. Okay, they were young, and they needed like a mother figure to look after them. Now, if Jabir went and took a girl who's the same age as him, or younger than him, or whatever, and almost the same age as his sisters, it wouldn't make sense, would it? Now, when the Prophet ﷺ mentions that, because now again we come back to the polygyny now. Polygyny was already something that was normal. It was a norm. Every man who could afford it was taking more than one wife. So, as the first wife, he'd recommended every man to take a younger wife so she can play with him. I mean, Aisha radiallahu anha was running, she was racing with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and obviously because she was young. Yeah, so that's the thing. Now, the second wife, if he wanted to take it, if Jabir was married, okay, Jabir was married already, and he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he told him that I've taken a wife. Prophet ﷺ would have known. Prophet ﷺ would not have told him now that, why don't you take him a young girl? Because the Prophet ﷺ himself had married widows and divorcees. He would have known the situation now. That situation for taking only young girls is for your first wife. Okay? When you look at the hadith, you understand the hadith, it is for your first wife. Okay? Then what happens is that now, if, for example, Abu Bakr Siddiq came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, I got married again. Do you think the Prophet ﷺ would have told him, take a young girl? No. Prophet ﷺ would have known his situation. He would have known that, like, he would advise him to take some lady that he knows that her husband died in battle or whatever. And the other thing is that the Sahaba, whenever somebody died, there's a hadith about that as well. Whenever somebody died, they wouldn't leave his wife as widow for a long time. They would compete with one another to marry the widows. There's something very, very important now. So you've got one side where the Prophet ﷺ says, marry the young girl, and you've got the other side where the Prophet, where the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ were marrying the widows and the divorcees. So you can see the difference there now. Right. So let's go back to Sheikh Saleh Manajid, what he's saying. So he's saying solving the problem of widows and spinsters. Now, yeah, and of the reduced number of men after and reduced number of men after times of war. Now, again, we've spoken about this issue, but remember that, like, we are in a catastrophic situation at the moment. It's actually in front of our eyes. We can see there's wars everywhere. There's sisters that are left with children, and they cannot fend for themselves. Basically, they need a husband. You have sisters who are divorced. Not every case of divorce is the same. That's one thing we have to bear in mind as well. Yeah, not every case. There are cases where sisters are filing for divorce themselves. There are cases where sisters have been abused. We agree to that. We know that. There are cases where husbands are taking drugs. There are cases where the guy shouldn't have got married in the first place. He wasn't fit to get married. There are cases where sisters are forced in marriage, forced in marriage by their parents, and it doesn't work out. So these sisters, you can count them on the level as sisters who are still pure. Not sisters who have been married once, twice, three times, and they've initiated divorce, like it happens in the West. There are plenty of sisters who have child from this one, child from that one, and child from that one. You see, different situations here. Horses for courses, and we have to remember these are our sisters. Okay, and before we actually marry a sister, we have to vet her as well. We have to know the reason why was she divorced. What if she's divorced more than once, twice, three times? What was the reason? Why was she divorced? Yeah, before we kind of proceed and say things about them or whatever. So this is very, very important. The issue of the widows and the spinsters, and of the reduced number of men afterwards. Now remember another important thing. Yeah. There is another thing that is happening in epidemic catastrophe that's happening. What's the word? It's not coming as an epidemic, yeah, is that there's a lot of homosexuality in the world. A lot of homosexuality. We can see how men are marrying men, and Christians, like in the Christian religion, it's something normal. Even in the churches, they're accepting this type of thing. So you have a shortage of men. We have a shortage of men, and we end up So who is going to look after these sisters? Like we mentioned, the sisters who are sisters who are actually single. And single men marry them. Yes, you marry you're single, you marry a single sister, both of you are single, and you work your way through it. Now, for a married man now who's already been married, he's got experience in marriage, he's got experience in raising a family, then there's no problem for him to take another family. As regards to the bad things that happens in the cases of polygamy, either they are very small when compared to the benefits, or they stem from bad practices. That is something very, very, very important. We don't blame polygyny. Today, what happens is some women don't want to touch polygyny with a barge pole. Stay away from it. I had problem. My friend had problem. You had the problem. Either you were the problem, or your husband was the problem, but not polygyny. Polygyny, like I mentioned earlier on, if done properly, it is something that is to be praised. So here now the Sheikh even is saying that either they are very small when compared to its benefits, or they stem from bad practices. Okay, so we have to not confuse that. Now, the other thing that we have to go back to, what I wanted to recap on, was the issue of the example. Today, whenever there's any other thing that our brothers and sisters want to take at heart, they say, "Oh, I want to be like the Sahaba. I want to be like the Sahaba, the Sahabiya. I want to do like them. Their practices and everything. Their fasting, their this and that." But when it comes to polygyny, no. We are not Sahaba. Don't mention Sahaba to us. We're not Sahaba. Why not? Our examples, especially for the sisters, is supposed. Our example is supposed to be the Prophet's wives among the ladies. Supposed to be the Prophet's wives, the way they did things. Yeah, and us, we should be following the Sahaba. You know. Why is it that when it comes to polygyny now, we don't follow the Sahaba, but in the way we dress, the way we act, we follow hadith, we follow everything. Everything else we will follow the Sahaba. Well, when it comes now to the actual polygyny, no, we shouldn't. Yeah, so that's wrong. There's a lot of examples here that it mentions about the wives of the Sahaba and everything, and how we should follow their examples, and it mentions about it mentions in the book here times when the Prophet ﷺ married them different wives and everything. Oh, I just dropped on the floor. So the times when the Prophet ﷺ married different wives, and from then, he mentions they mention in the book that they were all from different backgrounds. Some of them were the Prophet ﷺ's relatives. Some of them were his good friends' daughters, or Aisha radiallahu anha was the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and Hafsa radiallahu anha was the daughter of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Some of them were actually captives that were caught in battles and everything. Prophet ﷺ got married to actually unite tribes and that. So it mentions in the book now how they became his wives. And it mentions their example. Now, there's one or two examples here that I'd like to go through. Is controlling jealousy. I think I mentioned that before, but I didn't give many examples. I didn't give you many examples when I mentioned it in the book. Where, for example, let's take this here. Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned, "I did not feel jealous of any of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as I did of Khadija." Now, remember, Khadija radiallahu anha had died already. She had died already, but because of her character, the Prophet ﷺ, when married her, when before his nabuwa, he married her, and then he got his nabuwa, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had prepared her to become the wife of the Prophet. Yeah, so obviously now when you look back, Aisha radiallahu anha was jealous of her. Yeah, she died before he married me, and I often heard him mentioning her, and Allah had told him to give good tidings that she would have a place of qasab, pipes made of gold, precious stones, and pearls in paradise. And whenever he slaughtered a sheep, he would send her woman friends a good share. Okay, so there was jealousy amongst them, but they knew how to control that jealousy. Okay, it mentions here that let's go through one or two of the cases. Okay, right. It mentions here now in the book that the first lesson that is our jealousy can be caused by our attached devils. Everyone knows that we have a qareen. Yeah, we have a qareen that follows us, and the qareen whispers in our ears to make us do things or say things that we shouldn't. Okay, So every woman, it says here, should remember that this and should remember this and fight the feelings of jealousy rather than give into it, rather than give into it and cause problems and cause fights and whatever. Um, Fight it by saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan. And Allah said, and if an evil whisper comes to you from shaitan, then seek refuge with Allah. Verily, He is all hearer, all knower. Verily, those who are the pious ones. When an evil thought comes to them from shaitan, they remember Allah, and indeed they then see you aright. So that's what I was telling you. Whenever you have these urges, whenever you have these jealous feelings, that you should turn to Him and ask Him for protection. Today, what happens when this happens? Jealousy comes, and it actually breaks up marriages. It breaks up marriages. Big fighting happens, or whatever. And Allah's telling us here that, no, this should not happen. It should not happen. Okay, the second lesson is that women should understand the importance of communication with their husbands. Okay, when they feel jealous, there should be communication, whether it's in the first marriage or second marriage. There should be communication. Communicating jealousy can be an effective way of clearing up any misunderstandings, suspicions, or anger. Now, there could be something that the other wife had done, and this wife is thinking, "Oh, she done such and such thing, or she said such and such thing, or whatever." And without communicating, she started getting angry and stuff. And no, we are being told here now that no, sit down and communicate. Find out what is the true thing that happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that happened. I thought this was the problem. So this is what we are being advised here. And these are two sisters who are writing this book. Not from a man's point of view. These are sisters who are writing this book. As it is clear by behavior of Aisha radiallahu anha, this should be done with restraint, calm, and civil words. Aisha did not yell or act inappropriately. Instead, she responded to the question, "Do you feel jealous?" with complimentary words. This is an example of positive communication. However, women should avoid communicating every instance of jealousy because, in the most instances, the jealousy is petty and short-lived. This is very, very important. Many times when there's issue of jealousy, after a while you don't feel like that anymore. It's not something that will live in your heart for the rest of your life. I'm going, I don't want to know, or wreck the house or whatever. Then afterwards, what happens? When that is done, you sit down and you think, "Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. But then it's too late now. What comes out of the mouth, things that come out, it's too late. So we have to be very careful of what we say, and the communication has to be very clear as well. Now, there's a hadith that gives us an example here. Once, when the Prophet ﷺ was in the house with Aisha, in Aisha's house with some companions, Salama sent him a plate of food. I think I mentioned that in the beginning. There was two instances that happened. One happened with Salama, and the other one with Juwairiya radiallahu anha. And Juwairiya radiallahu anha was extremely beautiful. Beautiful. And this happened with Salma. Sent him a plate of food. When Aisha saw it, she took a rock the size of a hand and hit the plate with it and broke it in two pieces. She didn't want Prophet ﷺ to have the food, maybe. She cooked, and the Salma cooked. So she wanted the Prophet ﷺ maybe to eat her food. We don't know. Anyway, there's jealousy there. Breaking it in two pieces, the Prophet ﷺ gathered the parts of the plate and told his companions, "Eat." The food was still there. He took the plate, but the food is there, so eat. Your mother has been jealous. Eat. Your mother has been jealous. So they ate, and the Prophet ﷺ kept the broken plate in Aisha's house and sent a good plate of hers to Salama. He paid back that compliment to Salama. okay, with a better plate, and said a comparable plate for a damaged plate, and a comparable food for a damaged food. See here, Aisha was reacting to jealousy to Salma, sending food to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when it was not her day. So it wasn't Salma's day, but she was sending food to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and it was Aisha's day, and Aisha was very jealous about that, so she brought the plate. Now, obviously, Aisha radiallahu anha, when afterwards, when she sat down and thought about it, she was she was not happy of what she did. What is not said in the hadith is that Aisha realized her mistake and readily accepted the just decision to return her own plates to Salma. See, so she accepted her mistake that she done. One of the lessons we take from this hadith is that jealousy can lead to anger, and anger can lead to violence. From that, women must understand that because of the innate nature of jealousy, it is extremely important to learn about the proper protocols for dealing with jealousy and avoid the triggered anger. Okay, so now it mentions here now, see the chapter looking into jealousy. Now, there's a chapter in this book itself that goes in depth into jealousy, more than what is talking now. It goes into the chapter itself is about jealousy. This is just like some little bits and pieces about it. Okay. Now, another lesson is that after jealousy and anger has passed, a woman realizes that the damage she has done is regretful. Now, a lot of women, that what happened because of jealousy, they're either going to pick up the phone and call the other sister, shout, fight, I want divorce. And after the divorce is done, now she's alone with her children, nobody to help her, no money in her hands. It's regretful now. She should have been patient and taken it easy or whatever. So that's what it's saying now, that the lesson is that the damage has done is regret. The woman realizes that the damage she has done and is regretful. Akin to stimulants, jealousy and anger can cause an emotional high. At that particular moment, there's a book that I want to do a few weeks after, when I finish this, is called this. It's this one, Marital Discord, Al Nushuz. Very, very interesting book. And I'm going to be going through the book, inshallah. Now, this is Al Nushuz, okay? Emotional high. An emotional high where, at the time of anger, the woman can be throwing plates around and, shouting and fighting or whatever. This is that emotional high that clouds the woman's ability to control and manage her behavior appropriately. After that emotional high has gone, the woman is left with a low that is filled with embarrassment. Okay? Now she's embarrassed in front of her husband, and she's embarrassed in front of her friends, her whatever, her circle, whatever, and even the sister who she was angry with. Yeah. So anyway, if there is any, I don't know how many of you are watching out there, but whoever's there, please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like, and share. Sorry, earlier on there was a problem with sound, and because I haven't been online for a while, so I had plugged it in, but I should have just reloaded, and I didn't reload. So the fact that I didn't reload, that means it was running slow, and the sound was slow. Anyway, so I'd like to remind you that you're watching over People of the Book, and this is Jamal, your host, back again online after so long. Like I said, in the past two sessions, you will see that I was requesting help to go and have my teeth done. Well, here it is. Yeah, all my teeth are done now. I'm not like I was before. I was having problems with my teeth, and I needed to have implants done. So alhamdulillah, the implants are done, and I'm feeling better. Anyway, so we're talking about this issue of jealousy now, okay? And the emotional high that clouds the woman's ability to control and manage her behavior appropriately. After the emotional high is gone, the woman is left with a low that is filled with embarrassment, guilt, and regret. Often, the damage caused by jealousy and anger can be long lasting and difficult to deal with. Now, again, like I said, This can cause a lot of problems. Yeah, what you've said with this may never be able to be repaired again. Yeah, it may never be able to be repaired again. That's it. That may be that may cause a lot of destruction, and also from there a woman might request divorce. Because anger usually you will find that that's the case, and this is why this book is trying to advise now, trying to give trying to tell us. And again, I reiterate that when it comes to polygyny, we don't follow the Sahaba. We follow our own nafs, our own will. Whereas for other things, I have to follow the Sahaba. I have to go grow my beard. I have to dress like the way the Prophet ﷺ done and everything. I'm talking about the sisters as well now, hijab and whatever. Wake up and doing tahajjud and waking the husband up and everything for fajr. Fine, no problem. For these, I will act like the Sahabiya. But when it comes to jealousy, when it comes to that, I cannot control it. Yeah. So we can see that, this book is kind of advising on that. And finally, one of the most important lessons we gain from this hadith is a lesson in humility. Aisha, radiallahu anha, by realizing the result of her jealousy and quickly moving to make amends, shows that after any mistake where jealousy is allowed to get the better of us, it must be followed with seeking forgiveness and maintaining amends that for the damage done. It is essential not to follow ill behavior with arrogance, as this will lead away from the final goal of the hereafter. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "The one who has an atom's weight of arrogance in his heart will not enter paradise." See this, how important, and this is the reason why I really like this book, because this book gives advice to not only the sisters, to the brothers as well. I didn't pick this book because it picks on the sisters, no. This book is very interesting. If you go, for those of you who don't know my channel, if you go back and if you go to the playlist, you will see that I've already done the book by Dr. Bilal Phillips, which is who's my teacher, and may Allah give him Jannah, inshallah. I sat down with him and I got knowledge from him. That his book that he wrote on polygyny, and I've done that as well. And now this is another book that I found that is very interesting, that has a lot of lessons in there. So that's why I decided to do this. Okay. Now for Okay. Now another hadith. It says in another hadith we see the example of jealousy based on the beauty of a co-wife. Now, this is talking about what I mentioned earlier on, about Juwayriya radiallahu anha. As soon as I saw her face at the door of my room, I took a dislike to her, and I knew that he, the Prophet ﷺ, would see her as I saw her. Now, the story of Juwayriya radiallahu anha, she was from Bani Mustallaq. Bani Mustallaq was a clan of Arabs that fought the Prophet ﷺ. And when they fought, they lost. Now, when they lost, obviously, we know the story, that everyone was captured. The women were captured and everything. And when the women were captured, what to do with them? Do we leave them here so another group of people come in and slaughter them, massacre them? This is what they used to do. I mean, when you watch the film, for example, Vikings, you would see that they will go to the places and they will massacre and slaughter and put fire to the places and everything. So they don't leave the women there so that another tribe can come and slaughter them. So what they did, they took them. And Juwayriya radiallahu anha, she came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to seek a ransom. Yeah, it mentions here that in this hadith, Aisha radiallahu anha is referring to Juwayriya binti Harith, who was part of the booty on the raid on Bani Mustallaq. Aisha radiallahu anha had gone with the Prophet and his companions for the raid, and when Juwayriya came to the Prophet to seek for her ransom, Aisha was there. Aisha saw her come to the Prophet and she saw the immense beauty in her. And when she saw the immense beauty, she was captivated, obviously, and she got jealous. And the Prophet ﷺ freed her and married her. Okay. Prophet ﷺ freed her and married her. So the fact that, like, that made her feel uncomfortable, that made Aisha Aisha radiallahu anha feel uncomfortable. However, there is no evidence that Aisha radiallahu anha allowed this jealousy to give way to mistreatment of her co-wife. Instead, she treated Juwairiya as we are to treat our fellow Muslims, lowering her wing of gentleness and having mercy and compassion and always being mindful to her rights. Okay? So that's interesting there now. A lot of women today, you'll find that the husband has gone and taken a wife that is, more beautiful than themselves, and uh, maybe a little bit younger than themselves, and they feel inadequate. They feel that, like, why has he done that? Am I not enough for him or whatever? And the worst thing is, she's more beautiful than me. This type of thing. But look at the case of Aisha radiallahu anha here. Yeah. The case of Aisha radiallahu anha, where she saw Juwairiya, who even, the Sahaba had mentioned that, like, that she was exceedingly beautiful. Among the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was exceedingly beautiful. Yet Aisha radiallahu anha knew how to control herself. Okay? So, so one lesson we learned from this hadith is that it is reasonable to say that to have an initial jealous reaction to an attractive to an attractive attribute of a co-wife is normal, as long as it doesn't hold ill feeling and as adverse behavior. On the other hand, if an initial jealous reaction is not controlled and managed properly, it can turn into behavior that is damaging and initially unbeneficial. Okay. So we can see that like what I just said, a lot of men, maybe there is a sister, like, who maybe she can even be a widow. Even she can even be a widow. She can even be a divorcee. But she's exceedingly beautiful. She's exceedingly beautiful, and maybe that the husband, he got captivated by her beauty, and he decided to marry her. And here is the solution here, that, like, how to control the jealousy. When Aisha did not act upon her initial reaction of jealousy, but instead treated Juwairiya radiallahu anhuma with exemplary character, this is a clear example of striving against one's desires. Okay, very important. So also, although Aisha was initially jealous, she did not allow it to affect her greater responsibility of a servant of Allah, the all-seeing and all-hearing. So a more serious example of jealousy between the wives is in the incidents of honey. Now, this is mentioned in the Quran as well. The incidents where the Prophet ﷺ was making rounds his wife, visiting each one of them, and on one occasion he stayed longer at Zainab's house than usual. She had been giving him some honey, which was one of the Prophet ﷺ's favorite things. Because it's not honey; it's a drink. It's a drink that like honey, and it has a pungent smell. Okay, and which was one of the Prophet ﷺ's favorite drinks. Because of their jealousy over the length of visit Zainab and to Zainab, Aisha radiallahu anha and Hafsa radiallahu anha decided to tell the Prophet ﷺ that his breath smelled bad. And Aisha radiallahu anha explained this incident. I already explained what happened. He went there and he drank, and when he drank out of their jealousy, they made up a story and whatever. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so when the Prophet ﷺ came to them and then they told him about this, he said, okay, halas, I'm not gonna drink it anymore. I'm not gonna now this is a very, very important thing. There's two lessons to be learned from this now. The Prophet ﷺ says, it seems that they say to him, it seems that you have eaten mughaffar, which is a kind of bad smelling resin. For I smell in you the smell of mughaffar. So they told the Prophet ﷺ that he had eaten something, and they can smell that in him, which I suppose was not true, but they're telling him that in order to put him off going to Zainab radiallahu anha's house so often. We did so. He replied, no, but I was drinking honey in the house of Zainab, the daughter of Jahsh radiallahu anha, and I shall never take it again. Now, this is very, very important. I shall never take it again. I have taken an oath to that, and I should not, and you should not tell anybody about it. Okay, khalas. Right. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals a verse of the Quran for this occasion. Okay, Surah Tahrim. Surah Tahrim, verse 60, verse 1. Okay, of Surah Tahrim. O Prophet of Allah, O Prophet, why do you prohibit what Allah has made lawful for you, seeking the approval of your wives, and Allah is forgiving and merciful? Now, do you get where I'm going to now? Do you get the point where I'm going to now? First of all, the Prophet ﷺ, because of the honey, okay, he said, I will not do it. Allah made it lawful for him, made this honey lawful for him. Okay. But because his wives had made an issue, straight away he said, no, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I make an oath. Wallah al-azim, I will not do it again. Allah said to him, why did you prohibit what Allah has made lawful for you? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made polygyny lawful for a man. A woman should not get a man to promise. She should not get a man to promise that he will not enter into polygyny, because Allah has made it lawful for him now. Allah has made it lawful for him. Why do you now make a man make a promise that he will not enter into it? And a man should not turn around to his wife and say, like, I will not talk to this sister again or whatever. I'll take her out of my mind and not marry her or whatever. No, Allah has made it lawful for you. Allah has made it halal for you. Now, seeking approval of your wives, this is the thing as well. Now, the wife doesn't need to approve. Allah has approved polygyny. I've mentioned that several times. Approval has come from Allah already. You don't need to now something that is halal. You have to take from your wife. You have to take permission from your wives. No. Yeah. Allah has made it halal, and Allah is forgiving and merciful. You have to bear that in mind. Very, very important. Yeah, I wanted to mention this earlier on, and what's her name? I was going over something else. Yeah, there's something else I need to mention. All right. There's a book, very interesting book that maybe you'd like to, if you can get it, if you'd like to get it, you can buy it from any or from Amazon or whatever. You can order it, or if you have any bookshops. It's called Promises I Can Keep: Why Poor Women Prefer Motherhood to Marriage. Now that's very, very important. Yeah, this is talking about non-Muslim women. Yeah, not non-Muslim women, not. Well, there may be a minority of Muslim women who prefer motherhood to marriage, and it explains in there. It does explain situations where, like, where women are stuck in marriages, like, where the husband is on drugs or the husband is abusive and everything, but not in all cases. But many women would prefer. Their mind has already been brainwashed by the Western way of life, that it's better to be a mother than to get married. It explains in this book that she would live with a man. She would live with a man for 10 years, for 8 years, for 7 years. Still, he's not suitable to get to marry. They're living together. I'm not talking of Muslims here. I'm talking of non-Muslims. But they will live together, for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, and still she cannot trust him all this time. Why? Because when she chose the husband in the beginning, usually in Islam we get our fathers, we get our uncles, we get the community, we get the imams to vet that person. Before a woman marries a man, he is vetted. Yeah. In the non-Muslim society, they don't vet the man. Oh, I like the man. I went out, got to know the man, I got married. And you know, going out with him. The man moves in with her, or she moves in with the man, and it's just failure, disaster. Failure, disaster. Now she's not going to marry another man. She's going to stay with another man for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years. And still not have still not trust him. So if you can get hold of this book, I'll be referring to this book. I haven't finished reading it fully yet, although I've had it for a while. But it's very interesting, and if you can get it, it's called, again, let me mention, "Promises I Can Keep: Why Poor Women Put Motherhood Before Marriage." Okay. And there is another one, like I said to you earlier on. I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. In that book, it's called "The Myth of the Monogamy Myth." Okay, there's two of them. There's the monogamy myth and the myth of monogamy. One of them has that reference in there that I mentioned to you, where it mentions where monogamy was not the norm. Polygamy was the norm. And as years went, this is not written by a Muslim, by the way, yeah? As years went by, the Christian church changed it or whatever, and monogamy became the norm. That was the first sentences, the first paragraphs and everything in that book. And it's a very interesting book as well. So, if you can get hold of it. And a book that I would like to mention again, that I read quite often, that I refer to quite often, is called "Wives Rather Than Mistresses: Polygamy, Necessity of the Age." Okay. It's written by a brother called Hamdi Shafiq. Unfortunately, I don't know why he didn't publish the book. Yeah, you won't find it on the market, but you'll find it online. And in this book, it shows you the hypocrisy of the West, where they actually encourage mistresses, encourage girlfriends, but they will not encourage polygyny. It shows you the lives of the elite, these people who are have money, ministers and everything, and journalists, people who are anchors on TV and everything, and they're having affairs left, right, and center, and they're getting encouraged for it, no problem, But when it comes to polygyny, when a man wants to take a nap, oh no, can't accept that. It's not accepted. Now, there's one thing that I need to point out. There's a discussion I was having with some brothers online on a Facebook group. Now, one brother mentioned that, one brother, one sister as well, that had misquoted Allah's words, that I was encouraging brothers to get into brothers and sisters to get into polygynous marriages when the law of the land forbade it. Now, the law of the land doesn't even recognize. Bear this in mind now. The law of the land does not even recognize one nikah. Okay, it wrote clearly. I actually copied it from the internet and I posted it to them. Right, in Britain, if a man just marries as a nikah, it is considered as a religious ceremony. Has nothing to do with them, with the law or whatever. It is not even in the law. Okay, so that marriage now is not recognized. So when something is not recognized, how can it be the law of the land? It's not the law of the land now. It's not written in the law. So to say that Allah told us to follow the law of the land, and the law of the land prohibits polygamy, so we're not allowed to do it. No, because the law of the land doesn't even recognize the first marriage. If you go to a solicitor and you want to bring your spouse, for example, you want to bring your spouse home to Britain, and you got married in a foreign country or whatever, and you've got papers for your nikah, it doesn't count. They don't recognize that. They will ask you to do a civil marriage. If you've done the nikah only in your country, maybe you've done the nikah only, and you don't have civil marriage, they will ask you for the papers for the civil marriage. So which means they don't recognize the nikah. So now if they don't recognize one, how are they going to recognize the second one? How are they going to recognize the third one? How are they going to recognize the fourth one? So before we say that, the law of the land, we should check the law of the land. The law of the land, unless you go to a registered, you do your nikah in a registered center somewhere or whatever, where they are, registered. Now, that shouldn't be counted as a civil marriage, so because then you'll be committing bigamy. That's when you'll be getting into problem. But if you have an imam there, and imam is there, the imam performs your nikah, they will not recognize that. And I mentioned that to the group, and there was big and everything. People were saying that, I was actually, going against the word of Allah. Well, how could it be if they don't recognize that first marriage? How can they now recognize the second? That means you're not going against the law of the land. The law of the land is when you have a car, you have to have insurance on it. It's written in black and white. You have to have insurance in the car. You get caught without insurance, you will have to pay a fine. Or if it happens so many times, you probably end up in prison, because that is the law of the land. It's written in black and white. But something that's not written in black and white is not the law of the land. So you don't follow it. One. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that the law of the land contradicts the law of Allah, then Allah's law overrides it. Now, Allah's law, this is a fiqh issue now. Polygyny is a fiqh issue. Okay, so the fact that polygyny is a fiqh issue, that means it's part of the law of Islam. Yeah, in a country that follows the Sharia, then they should approve polygyny. Yeah, so it's part of the law of that land. So Allah's law now overrides the law of the land, because the law of the land doesn't recognize it. I hope I've made myself clear on this, because we had a big discussion about it, and there was a lot of that went on. Yeah. So anyway, another thing I'd like to mention as well, that I posted, just to get feedback and get content and everything. I wanted to know, there is a hadith which is a weak hadith. I checked its status, and it says da'if on there, where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that if somebody who is God-fearing comes to you and asks for your hand in marriage, do not refuse. Otherwise, this would cause fitna in the land. Fine, it's a weak hadith, but when we look at it, the concept, we find that it is acceptable. Obviously, a man who is pious, comes and asks for a woman's hand, and because he's not rich, because he's whatever, she will refuse him. So I mentioned that in there. I mentioned if a man is pious, he's a student of knowledge, he's got a good job, he's good to his wife, he's good to his first wife. Now, if he comes and asks for your hand in marriage, would you accept him? Majority made all sorts of excuses and whatever. No, we don't know if he's really God-fearing just because he had a beard. I never mentioned anything about having a beard. And also, before you get married to somebody, you'll have him vetted anyway. You'll have your what do you call it? Your wakil to vet the man, so he will know whether the man is God-fearing, whether he prays, whether he gambles, or whatever. He will know that. Yet the sisters blatantly were not interested. You see, so it shows that whether a man is pious or not, the sisters' minds already been somebody asked me a question earlier on that we can't blame the West for it because he was from Pakistan. This is colonial law. plus the Western education, where they have corrupted the minds of the people to make them think that Islamic law is oppressive to women. Islamic law is not right. Whereas we find that polygyny came to liberate women. Can you imagine the amount of women at the moment who don't have a husband, the amount of women who are actually widowed, who have children, who are suffering? Wouldn't these women like to have a husband? Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that inside us as Muslims we need to turn back to the Quran and Sunnah in order to rectify this. Anyway, so let's go back to this. Let's go back to the book again. Maybe we'll go on for another 15 minutes and then we'll finish. Please excuse me, like I said, concerning the sound earlier on. I should have been wiser to check it, but I didn't. Okay, the first lesson is that jealousy can cause a woman to be extremely sensitive to the smallest issue, thereby blowing minor concerns out of proportion. This is an important realization to be aware of because most jealousies fall under the petty category. Yeah? Most jealousies are not because of big issues or whatever has happened. But sometimes, people could, the mouth could have said something or whatever, and and regrets afterwards. But really, really, they're petty issues. Admittedly, during the time when a woman is jealous over a matter, it often seems to be worst and biggest event. Yeah. But as stated earlier, after the high comes the low. It is during that low that a woman realizes the pettiness of the issue concerned. The second lesson that the second lesson is that jealousy can lead to deceptive behavior. To avoid this, a woman must maintain a constant vigil against the whispers of shaitan. Remember earlier on we mentioned that most of the things that happen, especially with jealousy, is the whispers of shaitan, because we all have our Kareem. We have a Kareem with us, that goes with us, and that Kareem that Kareem whispers in our ears. So, to avoid this war, the woman must maintain a constant vigil against the whispers of shaitan. Deceptive behavior is a serious matter, and it should be avoided to the best of the woman's ability. Allah's messenger said, when a man lies, the angel moves away from him the distance of a mile. Very interesting now. I did mention before that taking a wife in secret shouldn't be done. Obviously, one is because of the rights of the wife, and secondly, you're lying to her. You're having to lie to her, because the thing is, how are you going to spend the night with that other woman now? How are you going to fulfill the rights of that one when you're grounded with the other one? So it's you're having to tell lies. And the Prophet ﷺ says here, when a man lies, the angels move away from him a mile. Can you imagine now? The more you tell lies, the more what's the name? And this is narrated by Ibn Umar and recorded by Jami' at-Tirmidhi. Okay. The third lesson is that a woman should should not return to the same ill behavior after this incident. Aisha and Hafsa never repeated the same conduct. Very important here. Once that thing is done, don't return back to it again. Don't again, next time something happens again, going to start problems or whatever. No, halas, done. And a done deal. A mistake is something that you learn from. It's not something that you repeat over and over again. What to do and what not to do. Muslim women would greatly benefit by learning from that and not repeating the same mistakes. The fourth lesson is that when jealousy is uncontrolled, it damages one's relation with the husband. The husband already now wants to keep the wife away from him, and that stays in the heart. That does stay in the heart. That because of you now, you've done this, you've made problems, you've gone and shattered my second marriage, who could have been a nice sister or whatever, and the jealousy uncontrolled damage to the relationship now. it could be that the husband doesn't love the first wife as much as he would have if she had been patient and, like, she had them taken care or whatever. But most importantly, her relations with Allah. That's very important now. Allah has told the woman to actually, be patient. Be patient, and that's her reward. That's what the reward she will get in Jannah if she's patient. And she goes on beyond that and actually, makes Allah angry. To incur the anger of Allah for sins is not to be taken lightly. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Beware of sins which are treated as being minor, just like people who encamp in the center of a valley. So someone brings a stick of firewood and someone else brings a stick until they are therefore able to bake their bread. Likewise, sins which are treated as minor and which the person is taken to account will destroy him." Okay, and this is narrated by Sahal bin al-Sad and recorded in Sunan Ahmad, volume 5. See, so these are very important things. Now, there was something that I'd seen in this same, I mean, like, we've got another 10 minutes to go. I don't want to go through all of this now, but there was something that I'd read here that I wanted to go through that was very important. Yeah. I think it was down here. Yeah. So we see that in the conclusion, it says, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ are excellent examples for Muslim women to follow, not only in polygyny. Like I said earlier on, our wives should be following the examples of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, not only in polygyny. Not only in polygyny, for anything else. But why is it that when it comes to polygyny, the wife doesn't seem to want to follow the example? But in all aspects of the deen, each wife was able to flourish in her faith while having 8 co-wives. Remember, the Prophet had 8 co-wives, and they had to live with one another. This, in and of itself, is a testament to their greatness, that they put their deen, their love for Allah, and the Messenger of Allah before their own desires and emotions. They were able to control their innate jealousy, slipping a few times. No one's perfect, but always repenting and returning to the obedience of Allah. Okay, so we see that what's the name? We see this is very important. Many people would like to use their mistakes to prove how terrible polygyny is. This is what I said I wanted to mention. Now, we've made a mistake. Husband and wife or whatever have made a mistake, and he's done wrong, she's done wrong or whatever. But the wife will never come, especially in a group of people, in a let's say WhatsApp group, in a Facebook group or whatever, will never come and say, it's my fault, I was the one who done like this, I was the one who was jealous, I was the one who broke up the marriage. No, don't go into polygamy. Polygamy is bad. Polygyny, don't follow it, you see. So the blame is put on polygyny, not on the mistake that the wife made, or the mistake that the husband made. And this is very, very bad, because it's like now you're doing like the kuffar do. When something happens, they blame Islam and they don't blame the person who done the mistake. Somebody killed somebody or whatever, like, he was a Muslim or whatever. The non-Muslims want you to justify why, you're a Muslim, and you're supposed to be a religion of peace, and now a Muslim has killed this. So you are made to justify as a Muslim. Same thing now, polygamy, being part of Islam, is blamed for the errors of the husband or the error of the wife or whatever, and this shouldn't be so. However, when one reflects upon them, they will see that it is quite the opposite. In all the incidents narrated in the hadith, a few of them could be deemed serious. Most of the other examples are simply narrations of that narrations of the fact that the wife did feel jealous, or narrations that they spoke a few words with their husband or with the other, but without anything major resulting. They dealt with their feelings within themselves and overall did not let the feelings cause fitna. This is a very important thing here, you see. What we end up letting what we say cause fitna among us, yeah, and the co-wives. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I mean, if you have any questions, like whoever is watching or whatever, if you have any questions, maybe we'll give the last 6 minutes to questions. I know in the beginning the what's the name, the mistakes for the sound and everything, and that should have been. I mean, no, it's okay, no problem. We'll see if there's any questions. It's a very, very interesting book. I mean, if you can get it, I'd recommend it for those of you who are wanting to the sisters and everything who are wanting to go to learn about polygyny and who don't know about it, and maybe the husband keeps mentioning about polygyny and everything, and you want to educate yourself about it, then it's a very good book. And so we're actually finishing the parts that maybe I'll refer to this again today. Okay, yeah. So we'll wait and see if there's any questions. Let me see if there's anything. Yeah. Okay. It's another point. It says here, it is unfortunate that today their example in polygyny is not being followed. Often, very petty and insignificant jealousy issue or concern is allowed to cause fitna within the family. In their example, these women also showed us true essence of wanting for your brother what you want for yourself. That's another very important issue as well. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب النفس. Okay, so that doesn't refer to only brothers. It refers to sisters as well. One cannot be a proper Muslim if he doesn't want for his brother Muslim, sister Muslim, or whatever, what he wants for himself. Now, you, a sister who's got a husband, who's got happiness, who's got a house, who's got whatever, you should be wanting that for your sister as well. Why is it that when it comes to that, now you're against that? It is clear that their example should go first, and it's true that you should want for your brother or your sister what you want for yourselves. Okay. Okay. I think we can. Okay, let's take another part of the book here where it says Muslim women today need to find the way to make polygyny successful. Another important point for themselves. And the way to do that is to take from and learn from the wives of the Prophet. A large part of the success of polygyny rests on the man's shoulders. He has to be a leader. Very important. I've spoken to a lot of brothers about this, and I've spoken about this online several times. He has to be the leader and set the tone for his marriages. Following in the Prophet's example is the way to success for them. But for the Muslim woman's part, they have to look at the wives of the Prophet ﷺ and emulate their actions and behaviors. It is incorrect for the Muslim woman to believe that they could never behave in polygyny as well as the wives of the Prophet ﷺ behaved. It is incorrect to try to use mistakes of the Prophet ﷺ's wives as an excuse to act foolish in polygamous situation. We need to think positively about ourselves and our ability to reach the level of a mu'min. The Prophet ﷺ came to teach us our religion and did not leave any stone unturned. All the emotions, feelings, and thoughts and concerns issues and problems are addressed in Islam, following following in the mother of the believer's example for all Muslim women. Okay, like a puzzle, polygyny has many pieces to it. Patience, controlling whispers of shaitan, jealousy, tolerance, knowledge, mercy, and worship of Allah, to worship a few. Each piece of this puzzle takes time and effort on the part of the woman, as stated earlier. Striving to please Allah takes discipline and self-control, but the result is more focused and is a more focused and restrained woman. In actuality, polygyny is a very small part of Islam, and the benefit of a woman learning to control herself, trying to achieve the commands of Allah, has long-reaching and lasting benefits beyond polygyny. Above anything else, the Muslim woman should be dedicated to pleasing Allah and His Messenger. We must learn from the wives of the Prophet and know, sallallahu and know that to them the deen always came first. Worshipping Allah and pleasing Him. Pleasing Him was the ultimate goal. And any negative emotions they felt were overcome by their desire to please Allah, and indeed they succeeded in their quest. So I mean, we've reached this far in the book, and I think I will end here. We've gone past the 1.5 hours. I don't want to make it too long, and we move to section 2 of the book in the next lesson, which is called Insights and Survival. It's a very, very good book. There's a challenge in the beginning, and then there's the psychology of polygyny, which is very important. We need to know the psychology of women. It's very important. The psychology is not the same, and that and it explains to us here. There's the female psyche, and I think it goes into the male psyche as well. So we'll go through that, and I can see that there's no questions or anything from anybody. Maybe you'll have questions in the future, because if you're not watching now and you're watching in the future, and you'll be able to put your questions maybe in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And like I said earlier on, please forgive me for the mistakes for the sound, because I haven't been on for so long. I'd moved my laptop, and then now I bought it back, and I plugged it in, and it was showing it is using the Wi-Fi, while it was plugged into the network. But anyway, so I think we'll end here, and Jazakallah khair, and I will see you next time. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun alal mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.